I enjoyed the book. I really, I think I read it because I read it in December. I read it at a time that I believe I was ready to read. I was ready to take in the lessons. So for me, the book, it taught me a lot of like life lessons. He speaks a lot about omens. There's and in actual fact, when you think about it, there's always an omen. There's always a sign. There's always we are just we don't listen or we don't pay attention to things, but the universe is always talking to us. So that's one thing that I took from the book, that the universe speaks to us, but we just are not concentrating. We are not listening. So I've got a few phrases that I took from the book that I felt, that I liked a lot. So there's one way he says, every blessing ignored becomes a curse.
Oh.
And that for me was, it's just that if you ignore your blessings, where do you think you're going to end up? Or if you ignore the path that you're supposed to take, but you can't then come back and sit and woe is me, and you ignored the path you were supposed to take. So that was one of them. And then, anyone who interferes with the destiny of another thing never will discover his own.
Yeah.
It's something that I like to say. While you're sticking your nose in other people's business, what's happening in your castle? You understand? Like, mind your own. You'll go very far in life.
Yeah.
Then another one, when we strive to become better than what we are, everything around us becomes better too. I mean, I think it's straightforward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed this book a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, that's it. So okay, personally, it's a good book. It's there's some nuggets in the book that I really liked. The communicating with the soul of the world, and the writer intentionally combined different beliefs into a single story. He took a bit of Islam, took a bit of Christianity, and also the belief in fate and destiny. And but more Yona, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a book I would remember. I'd have to constantly read it for me to remember the lessons. And like when you do read it, you're like, oh yeah, this is such a good thing, I must remember. It's such a good lesson, but it's not something I'd always have in the back of my mind. Somehow, it doesn't really touch me deep. It's a good book with very good lessons, great storytelling, very easy to read, but I'd have to read it constantly for it to remain something that is relevant to me. That's my review. And yeah, also the ending just annoyed me a little bit. It's like basically that king sent him to Egypt only to send him back to Spain. So we couldn't come up with a second location. Like, okay, maybe the treasure is not in Egypt, but it's in Italy. But he sent him back to that church. I was like, sure. So you had me sell my sheep, work in a crystal shop, only for me to go back there.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more about the journey rather than the destination. And also what I found interesting was the comparison between the Englishman who spent most of his life studying alchemy from books, and then he doesn't end up being an alchemist. And the boy who's never really studied any of these books becomes an alchemist simply by observing the world that he's in and taking in the lessons, and that's how he actually becomes an alchemist. Well, that was an interesting point for me. And the alchemist himself, the guy who turns the boy into an alchemist, no. Yeah, apart from the actual protagonist in the book,
there aren't any other outstanding characters, I'd say. They're just sort of like pieces that add on to this one person. So that overall it's a good book. That's it.
But anyway, so the other thing that stressed me out about the book was when he moved to Italy and he met this young boy. The thief? The thief. How do you trust a person to that extent? Someone that you don't even know. Someone that you don't even know. He stressed me so much. And I could tell before I could even get to that point where it states that the boy stole the money. Something in me said no. This, like, you know, when you have a feeling that this is too good to be true, something bad is going to happen. And but also it was a barrier of language, I guess, because had he understood what the store owner said, then he would have, you know, known what.
But how do you give a person your entire?
How do you? That's what stresses me out. How do you give a person your entire? Why didn't you give him a portion that they agreed on because they wanted to get the camels to cross over? Why didn't you give him? How do you give someone your entire money?
He didn't think about it. It happens all the time. Go Josie.
No, but
Hey.
So, you know, like The Alchemist is one book. For me, it's not easy for me to review it. I don't know why, ne? And maybe because the message is setting at, but I think the main point is the universe. I carry like one line that was constant in the book was if you want something, the universe conspires to giving it to you, right? Like it's like the theme of the book. So it's simply like, I think for us, ne, what we can take from the book is that more lifing, you can want something. And if you want that thing and you work towards getting that thing, then the universe will help you. Mare, if you want that thing, chelete won't come to you.
it won't come to you
Unless you do something. Like this boy. Everything. Even ka dinku tsa gage. Na understand that dinku tsa gage. Dibuka ha di bala. Like everywhere more na thing. You know, yeah, now it makes sense for Nane. He was the alchemist because everything he touched turned into gold. Everything.
that boy, ne?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he always had it in him. He just didn't know. That's why you're the alchemist. Now, okay. So, if you work towards something, yeah, the universe will help you, but it doesn't mean that there won't be obstacles. And that's what we saw. Like, I can't give a little rich. Uluzite kwale ko bareng. Already uluzite before I kaya ko meng ole a rotompa 10% of treasure ya gago. Uluzite before I kaya.
Before you could even get
Yes.
it.
Then ko deserting athola na thotse eng chelete.
Yeah.
Aba iluza gape. Then he got, was it gold? He lost it again. Ba mo tshwara poho. Then we are going to pyramids. Okay, he realizes, okay, he just had to see the pyramids, and that's it. Mare, treasure is not there. So it's like everyday life, ne? More life. Then later I realized, no man. Wait, can I let talent so. Then how focus on talenting you? Do you know how to pop? Wawa, di pop, then I wanna. Can't take can't ki into a emo. Like, give the way net a halakate. Mare ene into ya hake ko fella no language of the universe, which most of us like. And then I had a halanto, maybe I can oh ere ke founele Lebi before ke ya kae ke mmotsa gore 1 2 3 if ke sa etse ha ke tlo founela Lebi tla re oh we ditse 1 2 3 and ne ke ntse ke nagana wa ntlhaloganya. So sometimes we just need to really listen. We really need to listen because dilo di mo pele ga rona, and they always say gore life is in the present.
Yeah.
Mara rona re senya nako ka the future. So yeah, great book, great lessons. It's a book vele tshwantse we bale all the time because in a different messages and a le gore we me kae mo life because ke la bitre ke bala, but right now I understand it differently.
Oh, you relate.
Yes.
Based on that certain.
Yes, like mo periodong ya gago ya because la ntla I don't even think neki understand it to this level.
Oh, okay.
Ne? And the second time I don't even think it was at this level that I understand it now. So every time if you revisit it again, it will be a bit different. For some reason.
Okay.